What's up, you guys? Welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. Now, I've done a lot of top 5 X-Men videos so far, but today we've got a very special one. We're talking about the headmaster himself, Professor Xavier. So without further ado, let's get to the list. Alright, starting off number 5 on our list of Professor X, we have a classic. I believe this was from Giant Size X-Men. Still so good today. Unique and definitely well worth it. So he starts off with this trait that if he's in your starting area, he can draw lines of fire and count range for his speed, attack, and damage powers from the square of any friendly character with whom he shares a keyword. So, that's super good right there. We'll take a look at why in a moment. Now, he is a whopping 123 points, but when you consider the fact that literally anybody on his team can just walk up there and then he can, shoot or do anything from his starting area, it's pretty great, just targeting through that character. But anyway, he's got this special damage power that he gets later that gives him Outwit, and once per turn when he uses Outwit to counter a standard power, he may immediately use Outwit again, but only to counter a power of the same color, which is very interesting. Very neat little special Outwit there. Pretty cool on those characters that got like flurry blades, super senses kind of stuff, charge, super strength, anybody that has like multiple colors. Now, okay, it's kind of impossible to look at his dial. That was one of the big drawbacks of the sculpt. It's right over the thing. You can't really see it. So I'll try to post the dial on screen for you guys. But I mean, he starts out with Mind Control, Penetrating Blast, and Outwit. And that right there should be enough to tell you how good he is when any of your friendly, like Illuminati or X-Men or whatever, can just run up there and do their own thing. Maybe they can running shot on somebody and then he can mind control through them or outwit through them or penetrating blast or whatever, while he just sits comfortably at home in the X-Mansion. So yeah, this guy is great. And I like him a lot. Even today, I think he could be pretty solid with the right team. But yeah, for those reasons, he's coming in at number 5. All right, coming in at number 4 for me is this one. Very cool one from the Uncanny X-Men set. This is like an astral projection of Professor X. This would actually be really cool to pair with the number 5 because he's got an 11 movement with phase teleport, so he could just phasing up a bunch, and then he could shoot through his own astral projection. That would make so much sense. It'd be a really cool combo. But anyway, I like this one a lot. It's got this trait that adjacent opposing characters can't use the effect of equipped items. Now, before equipment really existed like we know it today, there was only a few objects that you could kind of consider equipment objects. Based on the wording of this, I believe it should still work the same for, the newer version of equipped objects we have, because this doesn't say like relics or, resources or anything like that. This actually says the effect of equipped items. So really cool ability to have there, just turn off their equipment. He also has phase teleport and mind control, and when he uses mind control, he doesn't take feedback damage, so you can just kind of forget about that last sentence because that's no longer a thing. You don't have to worry about taking damage for using mind control anymore. So yeah, 50 points, 11 phasing, 10 attack, 7 range for the mind control, 18 super senses, 0 damage, but he's really just there to mind control things. And to, turn off equipment, which is nice. Now, if he does take a little damage, he gets some Outwit there, which is nice. Then you get some Incapacitate and Willpower and Shape Change. And yeah, can't really complain for 50 points. He does his job effectively, and he's a really cool figure. So for all those reasons, I put him at number 4. And coming in at number 3 for me is another one of my favorites that I've used on several occasions. This dude right here from the, what is this? The Xavier School set, right? He had a Prime version too that was like the Brood Professor X, who is also really good. But I don't count non-regular versions of characters. Okay, you could fight me that the number 4 isn't a regular version, but it's still him as an astral projection. Anyway, regardless of all that, I really like this Professor X. He's got improved targeting, can make range attacks while adjacent, which is really good. He's also got the Headmaster trait that a few of the characters in the set had, which gives leadership and perplex, but only to target another friendly character with the X-Men keyword. During force construction, you may include one student ID card on your force without adding its cost. Gotta love that. That's just a free 3-point call-in ID card. Super good. And then you have Mind Control. When Professor X uses it as a range action, he targets all opposing characters within range, regardless of line of fire, and hit targets can't make attacks during that action. So, kind of sucks that they can't make attacks, but he's got like a 12 attack, 8 range for that, and it doesn't need line of fire. So everything within 8 squares of him has the potential to get mind controlled, which is pretty awesome. He's also got 8 range for his perplex for your friendly X-Men. 12 attack, double target in cap is nice. 18 with defend. He's got 8 range for his outwit as well, and the traded leadership on top of all that. So this guy's just nuts, just super, super good. Also a 50-point line, so he loses the in cap, but he still has 11 attack, 17 with defend, and the outwit. So yeah, I played him a few times at both point values. He definitely put in work. You can't do attacks with the mind control, but you can really, really mess with your opponent's positioning. You can pull some of their characters into a kill box, and you can send, their other characters far, far away where they can't do anything about it. And yeah, it can really mess with your opponent a lot. And he has a lot of support powers on either dial, so he definitely puts in work for the team. And for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 3. All right, and coming in at number 2, we have the newer one here from House of X, where he can now walk again, has the Cerebro helmet, and he's got this big energy wave thing coming out of his head. Anyway, very interesting sculpt, but we'll take a look at what he can do here. So first of all, he's got the Krakoan Revival trait, which I don't really want to get into that whole trait. I have a whole video about how to use it if you guys want to check that out. But long story short, it lets you revive your friendly X-Men that are lower points than him, and that's always pretty useful. And then he also has this trait which admittedly, I haven't really used much. Doesn't really come up a whole lot, but it's here. Free, choose an opposing character not on its starting click. That character's controller may heal that character 1 click. If they do, until your next turn, the chosen character can't attack. And if they don't, roll a d6. On a 3 through 6, heal 1 click on a friendly character that is equal or less points than the chosen character. So, it can get you some healing or can stop your opponent from attacking or whatever. Some interesting stuff there. But why I really like this guy is this special movement power that gives him mind control and stealth. And when he uses mind control, he has improved targeting for everything but blocking. So, he can mind control a very huge area. He's got 8 range, triple target with an 11 attack for that mind control. He's also got triple target for his in cap. He's got some super senses and some outwit, which can also come in handy. Yeah, I just love the 8 range triple target mind control that can see through nearly everything. That definitely comes in handy quite a bit. And the Krakoan Revival is also huge. And he's a good one, in my opinion, for Krakoan Revival because of the stealth and the super senses and the long range. Because that way it's just a lot harder to actually get to him and deal with him first, which is what you want to do for the Krakoan Revival people. But I also wanted to point out he's got several team-up cards. I've got 3 of his 4 team-up cards. So you can just take a quick look here at what some of them do. If the listed friendly character is adjacent to Professor X, they both have protected outwit. That's good for Callisto, Karima, or Magneto. Protected outwit always comes in handy. Then this cool team up with Magneto gives them both colossal size and impervious. And their combat values get to +1 if they have 2 action tokens. Now this one I feel like needs an errata. I haven't seen an errata. It might have one. I don't think it does. Last I checked, it didn't. It really needs one because the way Colossal Size used to work, that was good. If they had 2 tokens, they get +1 all stats. You just keep Colossal pushing, yay. But it doesn't give you Colossal Stamina anymore like that. It just gives you willpower on a 3 through 6, which is also great, but the +1 all stats doesn't really ever come up, except, yeah, it kind of helps your defense. I don't know. Anyway, I do wish they would have ratted that a little bit. But then there's this other team up for Magneto that gives them both protected Pulse Wave. And then he also has another team up for Illuminati themed teams that does something cool. So yeah, he's got really cool mind control power and the Cohen revival stuff and some really neat team up card options. So for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 2 for me. And as always, before we get to our number 1 pick, I've got a few honorable mentions to take a look at. So starting us off here, this is actually the Fast Forces figure from Rise and Fall. I thought this one was pretty good for only 40 points. He has traded leadership, and when he uses it and succeeds, you may give an adjacent friendly character with a rally trait a rally die. And, he's got some outwit, stealth to keep him safe. Just a good little support character and really crucial for those rally teams, in my opinion. I played him a couple times on a rally team, and he gave out a lot of rally dies. So I think he does some good work for a very specific type of team. Next one I want to take a look at here is the one from Avengers vs. X-Men. Now this is like a full power 150 point Professor X, using like the fullest extent of his mental powers. He's got improved targeting for hindering. Then he's got a trait that says when he does not have 2 action tokens, he can use shape change, which is pretty nice. And then he can use mind control and is not dealt unavoidable damage from it. Of course, like I said, that's not a thing anymore. But opposing characters within range must be given double power actions instead of power actions. That can be really annoying for some things like charge, running shot, etc. Then he also has Professor X can use Mastermind. When he does, he may divide the damage dealt between 2 adjacent friendly characters if they each share a keyword with him. This is actually great. Somebody could run up and hit him for 4. If you got a couple adjacent characters like maybe Colossus and, I don't know, somebody else like Wolverine, then you could do 2 to Colossus. Oh, he's got invul and he doesn't take any. Give 2 to Wolverine. Oh, he just clicks 1 and next turn he'll heal it anyway or something, right? So dividing that between 2 adjacent friendlies is really good. And then Professor X can use Empower, Enhancement, and Leadership. And when he uses Leadership and succeeds, he may remove up to 1 action token from each adjacent friendly character with the X-Men keyword. So he can remove a ton of action tokens if you have 2 or 3 people next to him at a time. Then you can take a look at his dial there. He's got the 7 movement with the Mind Control special. He's got the 11 attack penetrating blast, only 2 damage, and only a 16 defense, though, with the Mastermind special. So yeah, only 16 defense and 2 damage. Not great, but I mean, you don't really have to worry too much about it as long as you're hitting your mind controls, right? And it doesn't really have to worry about getting hit if you're masterminding it onto 2 adjacent characters. Later on, you get some Incap, Outwit, and Super Senses, and before finally KOing. I just really thought that, 150 points was just a bit much. He is pretty powerful with the, triple target mind control, penetrating blast, everything he can do, really. He does a lot of things, I think, but he was just a little too many points and not quite enough health. I mean, if they just outwit the Mastermind, he's kind of dead, right? So yeah, that's kind of what's keeping him off the list, but still really cool nonetheless. And then lastly, there's another Professor X with this same sculpt from the Giant Size X-Men. This is from the Fast Forces set. Now, this is actually the first Professor X I ever owned. It was one of the first Heroclix products I ever bought, actually, was that Fast Forces set. And this one's really good, I think, even today. Does some cool stuff. He's got the special attack power that Professor X and friendly characters within 4 squares that share a keyword with him can use shape change. And then if a friendly character succeeds on a roll for this shape change, you give them an action token if they have 0 action tokens. So, I mean, just handing out shape change to everybody is great. And then, he's just got some like prob and incapacitate and mind control to start with. So yeah, again, you can't really see the dial. He doesn't start with the incap, I'm sorry. He starts with the special attack power that gives shape change. But mind control and prob with 8 range is very, very useful. And giving out that shape change is great. For only 75 points, not too bad. So those are my honorable mentions. Without further ado, let's get to my number 1 pick. Coming in at number 1 for me, if you really want to take your opponents to school, you got to use the Rise and Fall Uncommon Professor X. Honestly, I think it's great that this guy is only an uncommon. We already looked at the sculpt earlier for the Fast Forces one a minute ago, but yeah, this guy is just insane. I've used him on several meta teams already. He's just that good. So he starts off with a rally trait that says Leadership. When Professor X uses it before rolling the d6, you may instead remove his rally die to use it as the result. So, you know, Leadership that succeeds automatically if you want it to as a trait is pretty great. But then he also, of course, has Recruiting for a future threat, which, if you don't already know, it says at the beginning of the game you may replace up to 5 friendly characters with the same number of characters from your sideline on their starting clicks. All replacement and replaced characters must have the X-Men, Shi'ar, or Illuminati keywords and different names. The total points of the replacement characters cannot exceed the total points of the replaced characters. So, of course, he lets you swap out up to 5 characters on your team at the start of the game, which is just amazing. Gives you all the options in the world, especially with how many X-Men characters there are in the game right now, even just in modern age, let alone Silver and Golden. But yeah, it starts out with Stealth, some Combat Reflexes, and Outwit, and an 8 range for that Outwit, which is nice. For only 25 points, I mean, you could totally just leave this dude on the map and have that Stealth, Outwit, Leadership for 25 points. But you can also just swap him out at the beginning of the game for something better if you need to, because he can swap himself out for that trait. And yeah, that trait is just so useful. I mean, I recently did a team build video on my channel here, just if you want to go back and take a look at that to get a better idea of the kind of things you can do with that swap out mechanic, because it'll take all day if I sit here and talk about it. But this guy is nuts for 25 points. And another thing that's cool to me about Professor X is that they can make a 25-point Professor X and they can make a 150-point Professor X, and they all feel like very good versions, very accurate versions of the characters still. It's just kind of crazy to me that they can manage to do that with any character, I guess, make such good versions just all over the point value range. But yeah, for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 1 for me. He just does so much for 25 points. He gives your team literally all of the resources it needs to do well. As long as you put whatever you need on your sideline, you just swap that in and out at will, and you've got a whole new team to face whatever threat you're going against. It's crazy. So for all those reasons, he's coming in as my number 1 Professor X. Alright, that does it for another top 5 list. As always, if you enjoyed it, make sure you smash that like button. It does help me out a lot. Let me know in the comments who you'd like to see on a future top 5 list and who your favorite Professor X is. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. But if you'd like to support the channel even more, you can check the links in the description for our Patreon so you can see your name here in the credits, as well as some other cool stuff, so check that out. But that's going to do it for this one, so thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.